What's going on, JP Football Fanatics fans? It's your boy JP Football Fanatics back with you once again with another podcast here tonight. For this time, we are going to be talking about after a month of talking about these two particular players who have been, released from their respective teams, still looking for their new home to play in hopes of winning a Super Bowl. Haven't quite found it there yet. Couple of deals, as far as how it's going so far. One is up in the air. One doesn't seem like it's going to be happening. So we're going to kind of just give our predictions as far as these two particular players, as far as what they're going to be doing. When the season comes, are they going to be able to sign with a team in time before the season? Are they going to be able to win a Super Bowl at some point? And which teams do we think that they're really going to be the best fit for in this point in their lives? I mean, we talk about it all the time on JP Football Fanatics. As far as players go and everybody gets older. Pay is probably not going to be ideal for most players that want to get paid the top dollar. But at this point in their careers, if they're at that middle age level there for around their 30s, early 30s and mid 30s, approaching around that age group right there, there's a lot of things and factors that they have to kind of really consider. And we're going to be giving some of those opinions out tonight. These two players, you probably guessed them already. Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins. Scott, you ready to go?
Yup.
All right, guys. Before we do get started, please be sure to drop a like on this video if you have not done so already. Also, be sure to hit that notification bell and hit that subscribe button as well, so that way you can be in tune and every single time that we go live on JP Football Fanatics, or even pre-recorded for that matter, like we are right now. So we'll begin. First, we'll talk about DeAndre Hopkins. We all know about the whole story about D-Hop. He's played with Houston, with Deshaun Watson, was traded away from Bill O'Brien, who was also being that GM at the time. Was not a very good deal. He pretty much got traded for David Johnson, who was pretty much washed up at that point, wasn't a very good player in the league. Then he went to go play for Arizona at that time, so that's who he got traded for. And now he was released from Arizona, which was something that we kind of thought was going to happen during the offseason. But now we're approaching to that month or 2 month time frame now where he's still kind of looking for that team. New England was going to be one of those teams that he went for a visit there. Seemed like everything was going to kind of work out so far, but right now we have not heard anything else as far as a deal goes or if New England is interested in taking him. So, Scotty, let's kind of talk about it, roll it up a little bit. What do you think about this deal? Do we think that D-Hop is going to New England, or is there another ideal spot for him where he may be going before the season starts, or even during the season for that matter? Because that happens often.
Oh, I think it's preseason, or not preseason, but I'm saying like prior to the season, he probably won't. He will probably sign within the next month or less. With New England, it's so they just signed Parker. If you just saw that deal, which is kind of dumb because he stinks, but I think he was like their most consistent receiver. So I guess they wanted to get that done, and it like creates cap room. And then they signed some, I think it's an offensive tackle or like a D lineman or something that also created cap room. So like they're trying to, maneuver the cap so that they can give him a sizable deal. But maybe it's for someone else. I don't know. D Hop is not the only guy out there. Zeke's out there. Will Compton's out there. The other guy from Bussin' and the Boys is out there. That was on the Titans line. I forget what his name is. And Cooks is obviously out there as well. But I think it's between, well, as far as we heard, it's between the Titans, the Patriots, and the Chiefs. I guess are in the mix too, but I don't know how they do it without like the cap room when they don't have like any cap room. But I think the Chiefs would be like the best option if you got like a 1-year deal, like all incentivized or something with like no signing or just like massive signing bonus with like all the incentives, because like I guess that would be a team friendly deal they could try to do something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I think Kansas City, honestly, not for nothing, as far as Kansas City goes, if D Hop is willing to take that huge pay cut, because as you said earlier, their cap space is very limited, so they would have to give him a very minimal deal. If D Hop can agree with that, I mean, Kansas City would probably make him a pretty good sense there to kind of help out Travis Kelsey, so that way he's not the main target all the time. Um, as far as other teams go, Buffalo is one of those teams I've talked about too, where they could potentially want him as well too. May not be the number one receiver because you have to go along with Stephon Diggs, but that's something that is a considerable something that you could definitely consider that being the case. I mean that in that aspect right there. But really, one of my personal opinions as far as like him goes right now, I feel like New England right now, you have Bill Belichick as your coach. You have a defense that's what some would probably say is probably a Super Bowl winning type of defense because their defense is so stacked with so many great players, and they're pretty much, I would say, low key stacked on both sides of the ball. I not maybe like as like the top dogs like Kansas City or Buffalo or Cincinnati, like any of those teams right there. But New England has proven time and time again that they can still compete, maybe not at the level that they used to be, but they can slowly get themselves built back up there. So I feel like that New England and Bill Belichick having that camaraderie with the New England organization and the amount of years that he's coached for them and won so many Super Bowls, I feel like he is still in that era that could potentially win at least one more Super Bowl. And D Hop may be, maybe not the biggest factor of them all, but it could be something that, that could really look into. And that would definitely be able to help out Mac Jones in separation from Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, and any of the other receivers. They also have Juju that's on the team too. So, to me, that kind of makes one of the most sense in my opinion, honestly. But Buffalo and Kansas City probably shouldn't really pass up on it either and really kind of chew off Hopkins' ear if they're able to do that.
Yeah, I mean the Patriots. They got Juju, Thornton, I think his name is, and Parker. So it's like they got three guys that are guys, just guys. So like DeAndre Hopkins could come in and be the guy, but with Mac Jones, I mean, how much can you really be the guy?
I mean, really, like we talked about it earlier. I've talked about it with you, and this is kind of like where Scott and I kind of had a disagreement here. I really do like Mac Jones a lot. I really do think that you can win with Mac Jones, even when you are probably right now on paper, you're probably the fourth best team in your own division, but you're a team that still could have a winning season at least, and that's like really crazy to think about. And logistically, logistically speaking, you have Mac Jones, who's had a lot of history in Alabama. It was very successful in Alabama. His stats were incredible. Then you go into the league in your rookie year, 2021, and you're looking really, really solid, and you're looking very promising for the future. Last year was more of a down year, but that's kind of like a year that some people would just say that's a year to throw away because you had an you had a defensive coordinator calling offensive plays. That doesn't happen very often, but now that situation is settled. Now Bill O'Brien is in there, and he can definitely help out with that. And I think D Hop is one of the guys that wants to be the guy still. I think he wants to still be able to prove that he can be that guy. And I think New England is the team where I think he's going to be able to get that.
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree. I just don't feel like he could do anything with them. It would be like a 1 year prove it deal. Then like I'll sign here, but like if I do good, I'll go elsewhere next year, like Juju did basically last year. But I mean, Juju didn't have a good year, so he just take what he could get this year. But we all know what Juju is. Juju is like an alpha, so I don't know what Hopkins has in plans, but maybe he, wants to go to a team that can actually give him a shot to win or like show out for that. I mean, is Mac Jones going to make him a 12 or 1,300-yard receivers? I doubt it, but maybe 900 or 1,000 maybe, but I don't think he could get 12 or 1,300 yards on the Patriots.
you know,
It's
well,
not Tom Brady and Randy Moss. Let's put it that way.
no, it's definitely not. I mean, we'll admit that right now. Mac Jones is not Tom Brady. We know that, and we know that D Hop is not Randy Moss. We understand that fully. And I'm not saying there's no really any comparison about the two, and I hate when people make that comparison. But Mac Jones is his own person, and I think he should be respected as his own person and be able to carry the team in his traditional way. Like New England likes pocket passers. Mac Jones is a clean pocket passer. My personal opinion, he is one of the best pocket passers in the league. There's not very many quarterbacks that can throw the ball in the pocket and not have any really real mistakes. In my honest opinion, that's just my opinion. When you watch Mahomes, when you watch Josh Allen, when you watch those guys, they have to scramble around to make plays because their offensive line, more so Buffalo, is atrocious. So Allen has to throw outside of the pocket. And when he does get time and be able to look down the field for his players, he can throw within the pocket. But Mac Jones, man, when he is in the pocket and he drops back, like he can throw dots left and right all day long. That's just how special he is in that. And that's something that New England looks into him. That's what they really like about him. And that's why they want to stick with him and think that he can be the guy that could take them to, the playoffs or at least be a dark horse. Maybe even win a Super Bowl. That could definitely be a possibility. And it wouldn't be the first time that we've ever heard of a quarterback that's been in the top 15, top 20 that has made to the Super Bowl before and have won. So, anything is possible when you have Bill Belichick as your coach. I'm just throwing that out there right now.
Yeah, that's true. But I think Bill's at the end of his career. He's 70, so I imagine in another 2 or 3 years he was going to want to pack it in. But who knows?
But he will win at least one more. I feel like he's going to win at least one more. And I think D Hop may not be exactly in year one, but you can give D Hop at least a couple more years in him. He probably will. I would say if you're New England, I would sign him to a 2-year deal at least. And maybe in the second year he'll win. Honestly, that's just my opinion and how I feel about it. So I feel like if there's any team that's going to be closer enough to winning a Super Bowl right now and logistically can pay him right now, it would probably be New England. Right now, they're not saying anything right now because they don't want that news to kind of be out and like take that vocal point over during the offseason. But once, like you said earlier to me, the training camp starts and preseason starts and everything like that, then that's when we're gonna kind of really hear whether or not this is the deal that's going on and if this is a done deal between New England and D Hop.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that the Patriots should be at the bottom. Not that like he would have more chances with the Titans, but like he could go there and be an alpha. I don't know if Ryan Tannehill and like Levis in year 2 or 3 could like make him that good, but maybe they could. I don't know how good Will Levis was at Kentucky. I mean, I understand Kentucky was good, but I don't know. He wasn't, a name that I researched, so I can't really comment on how good he could be with Will Levis. And Ryan Tannehill is at like the end of his tenure in Tennessee, so I don't think he has more than a year, if not 2. So
Yeah, I
but
mean, Titans could definitely make sense too for D Hop to go to because they're kind of desperate for a Super Bowl win and they're also a team that is getting older too, so they're a team that's going to want to try to transition. I think they're going to get themselves in more of a rebuild mode where they probably can't win right now with just Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. I think they're more in like a rebuild mode in that team that will probably still win like at least 5 to 6, maybe even 7 wins this year, just because of
yeah,
how good Mike Vrabel is.
I think they'll have a better year this year, hopefully, than they did last year. I think when they lost the Jags, I believe they were on like a 7-game losing streak or something like that. Like they were bad, and somehow they were still in it at that last game because that last game was for the division title. But I mean, I don't think you might have heard this, but maybe you didn't. But I think D Hop was in the mix for the Browns and the Texans as well. So I don't know how much more was talked upon that, but uh, there was something speculation about him going back to Watson. So that would be something. I could see him going back to the Browns.
Yeah, I think the Browns would be an ideal spot there too. I mean, I know they have Amari Cooper, they have Donovan Peoples-Jones. They have some pretty good weapons there too. So I could see that being one of the teams that kind of makes the most sense, honestly. That could be a potential team. And there's a couple others I know you mentioned too that were also good details to kind of look into and everything. So I could see that being the case too.
Yeah, I think the Browns would be decent because I don't think. I mean, do we really think Amari Cooper is a number one? Has he really like? I mean, he showed flashes of it, but he doesn't show like dominance of how good he is for his team
I think he
on.
does just enough. I mean, I don't, I don't think we've ever really seen enough of Amari Cooper in Dallas as we are seeing right now with him because he's right now he's not being overshadowed. Like I think he can do the job. I think he can be productive, like a Donovan Peoples Jones, like that. I think he can be productive, and I think D Hop kind of gives that separation away. Like if you get the three of them in one offense, I think your offense will be pretty underrated.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Amari Cooper could be more of a like a 1B more than like a 1A that he's in the role of because like yeah, so he's never had more than 1,200 yards and he's never had more than 92 receptions. So it's not really calling elite to me if you ask me. So and I think even CD Lamb had a bigger career last year as the number one with the Cowboys. Yeah, CD Lamb had 107 for 1,359 yards last year. So he even proved in year one that he was better than Amari Cooper. So yeah, I mean, I would like to see that because at least D Hop could go back to being an alpha with a team.
Yeah, no, that would be true. I could definitely see that being the case. But as far as Houston goes, I doubt it though. I doubt he's going to go back to Houston.
Yeah, they're too much in a rebuilding mode, so I don't think he would want to go there.
No, I don't either. Alrighty, so we'll go over to D Hop. Hopefully we'll hear some more news and talk more about it once we hear some. Now we'll kind of go and dive into Dalvin Cook. Now, the league that we're in right now, as everybody knows, any football fan knows, the league that we're in right now, obviously is not really a running league anymore, unless if you're like an old school football team that likes to run the ball, like the Titans, for example, the Patriots, like those kind of teams right there. But Dalvin Cook was released a month ago from Minnesota, which was something that we kind of saw coming a mile away. Miami was like one of the biggest topics and one of the biggest teams that wanted him for quite a while, actually. And, from based off of what resources are saying right now, it looks like that's not really going to be the case. It looks like that the deal is done and it's not really going to be something that the Dolphins are going to do. He was given an offer for them. He rejected them. So now kind of like Dalvin Cook, when you look at him, you're kind of running out of options too of where to go. If you're not going to accept a deal from Miami that was accepting to get you for what you could do and be productive in, with a team that really needs a run game going and an extra person on the field that can be involved in the passing game. Now you're kind of keeping the options like very limited now. So, other teams available right now, we always keep talking about Buffalo, but Buffalo could definitely use him, the Bills. There's a couple other teams I feel like that would want to use him too. I even said even the Cowboys probably could too. I think the Cowboys with Tony Pollard, like I like Tony Pollard. Don't exactly love him, but I like Tony Pollard enough where he can get you the yardage, he can get involved in the passing game. However, based off of last year's injuries and we know that there's a lot of things behind that's going to be kind of questioning on like if he's going to be able to carry the full load and why the reasons behind of why he was splitting time with Zeke Elliott. So maybe Cook could go in there and help out, and he would be heavily involved in Dak's passing game possibly. Other teams involved too that could potentially try to want to get him, that could use him. Kansas City could be one that can use a consistent passing game too and a consistent run game. That would be something special. But again, cap space becomes a big issue there. And there's other teams available too that I feel like could potentially afford him, but similar to D Hop, I think at this point in his career, not winning a Super Bowl yet, I think you need to kind of take up on any deal, really at least decent enough and take a pay cut where, you may have that opportunity to be able to win Super Bowls with these teams like the Bills and the Cowboys. So, Scott, what are your opinions on Dalvin Cook? I mean, obviously, I still think the guy can still play, even with the injury history that he does have. But I think when he is on the field, he's proven that he is a solid running back, like maybe top 15, maybe top 10 at least when he's been on the field and healthy.
Yeah, so the Dolphins were the top team, the primary team that were interested through the whole, month that he's been released. But recently I've heard, I think I've only heard of one team. Yeah, it's the Jets I've heard of. So the speculation is like he goes there and he's like the starter for like the time being because they don't know how hurt or what Brees Hall's really timeline is. I think I've also heard the Bills, but I don't know if he wants to play with his brother and then take away snaps from his brother. So other than that, I could see the Jets because you get him and then you don't rush Brees back. You take your time with Brees, and then when he thinks he's ready, like 100%, you just give him a couple snaps here and there, and you just like you go win one. You go win the Super Bowl, and then Dalvin's not pushing for anything after that. He'll just be like, if you want to bring me back, or just let me go find where else. And at that point, he's what 28, 29. So running backs have a short lifespan. So I mean, I love the position, but that's just the way it is. So I
Yeah,
think the
I
Jets
mean,
are the best option.
I think the Jets is another thing that kind of does make sense too. Like you're talking about with Brees Hall, questions about whether or not he's coming back week one. That's going to be a big factor there. Dalvin Cook can go in there and help out for that team and be able to maybe put them on the map early. That could be a possibility. Buffalo, I kind of feel like would make the most sense, but as you said too, his brother James Cook is there, so maybe that might kind of spark up some controversy there a little bit about Dalvin, obviously, who is better than James Cook. I don't really think James is really anything spectacular that we've really seen yet from Buffalo, and that's probably a lot to do with the offensive line. But Dalvin, with a lot of experience, the veteran, he could be like that mentor for his brother by the time he does retire. When Dalvin does retire at that point, the torch can be led on to James, and hopefully he can build off like that chemistry that he built with his brother.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing, but I really think like the Dolphins are a good option, and so are the Jets. But like honestly, like I said, the Jets would be the best option, mainly because they can just be like, all right, we got everything we need. We got the defense, we got the offense. Let's just play the games and then hope for the best. And you really don't need to rush Brees Hall back after that because outside of him, they don't really have a legitimate backup. I mean, they have Zonovan Knight, and I believe the only other back is a Bandicanda on the team. Love that name, but he's not like he's more of like I think he was like a third or fourth round guy. He might have been later, or maybe been in a fifth, but he's not a starter. You go out there and you give 15, 16 plus carries. So maybe they just bring in Cook for the security. I mean, other than the Jets and the Dolphins, I don't see any other team that could like give him a shot. I did hear the Patriots, but I don't know why. I guess why he would go there. The whole thing there was talk about him and D Hop want to play together, but that's just I feel like a pipe dream for like some teams. So I don't think he would go to the Chiefs because cap space.
and their line isn't the best. So it's not like you want to go to a team that has a good line because you're not going to try to like get like destroyed. And it's not like he's trying to be like LaShawn McCoy or Melvin Gordon and just go to the Chiefs and sign so he can get that Super Bowl. But I think the Jets and the Dolphins are the best option, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think if you want to win like Super Bowls and everything, you have to be able to mix it up a little bit. And if you have a solid back in your lineup that can get you some yardage and be involved in your pass heavy team, that could definitely help you out in the long run too. So, I mean, I like Dalvin. I think he's still up there at least when he's healthy, but I don't think he's necessarily going to get himself back up to where he was, you know, couple of years ago with like where Derrick Henry is or Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey. Like, I don't think he's going to be that high again, but I feel that he can still be at least a top 15, maybe even, maybe at the cusp of the top 10 mark. But and that's still pretty darn good for him.
I mean, yeah, he could probably rush for like, maybe 1,000 yards behind a good line, but he's not gonna, get like 1,000 yards and 12 plus touchdowns. He's gonna get like, 800-900 yards and 4 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns. But he'll be a piece that can help you out. I think the teams we talked about were the best. They were saying, I heard an interview with it was there's some podcast with and they're interviewing Robert Turbin, former Seahawks running back, and he was talking about his ACL, and it was really like you rehab for a year and then you rest for another year. You're really not healthy until year 2. They brought up Adrian Peterson, and he was just like, well, yeah, some guys are built different, and Peterson is like an alien, like Derrick Henry. So like, these guys don't just like, grow on trees. They're like once in a lifetime backs. So
yeah, no, they don't, they just don't grow on trees. Like you said, no, definitely. And Adrian Peterson, the last time he played was only 2 seasons ago for Tennessee when Derrick Henry was out, and they pretty much released him like after 2 games. They released him after that because they ended up getting other solid backups that were going to help him out in the running game. So, I mean, running back is a pretty valuable position. Maybe not as valued as much as it used to be back in the day, but it's still pretty valued where you're still taking a lot of the lumps. You're definitely taking a lot more hits than the quarterback is. So, like you said, their lifespan of a running back really isn't that long, at least. And if you even make it to the age of 30, really, you're doing something right, at least.
Yeah, like I think Derrick Henry is 30, but he played, I think it was 2 years behind Dion Lewis and DeMarco Murray. I think he was I think it was just Dion Lewis. But yeah, so Dion Lewis was the starter for a year or 2, and then he got his start. So he really only played for like 5 or 6 years or something, maybe less.
So yeah, I mean, Dalvin can still definitely pick up a lot of slack too for a lot of teams. Dallas, Buffalo, maybe. Miami, I wouldn't necessarily throw away Miami. Maybe they could use them later on in the season, like if Dalvin is not signed anywhere. But there's still a lot of teams that are definitely going to need a running back at some point during the season. And, and Dalvin Cook is the best running back that's available right now in free agency. So, if he's not taken before the season starts, somebody's going to be bound to call him. Somebody will call him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to see them get outside of like week 2 of the preseason at best, but I mean, I could be wrong, but I believe they both want to like, sign deals by then. I had an idea of him going to the Eagles, but I don't know if they want to actually pay a running back, considering their running back group is consistent of 4 guys and their total contract salary is less than 4 million or something like that. So
yeah, no, they won't take him. No, they don't really need a running back at that point. They have all that they need right now. So that's the least likely team that will take him. So, yeah, no, I mean, I think these 2 guys are going to get signed eventually. I really do think so. Somebody's going to take him, whether if they take him right now, if they take them right now, or if they don't take them before the season, somebody will take D-Hop. or Dalvin Cook. I just don't see these guys being in free agency very long.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to be sitting out there week 2 or week 3 just waiting for a phone call. They'll definitely get, something in the preseason.
They will, for sure. So, guys, we're kind of wrapping up a little bit here. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to drop a like on this video if you have not done so already. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button as well and hit the notification bell for any time that I post new content here on JP Football Fanatics. And with all that being said, everybody, this is your boy James here saying thank you so much from James and Scott. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. Peace.
Have a good night.